If you just came out of residency and you're looking to start up your practice, or if you're an established practice, but you've been stuck in the same rut, patterns, revenue for the past 5, 10, 20 years, or if you're growing pretty well, but you just want to grow even faster to get to your goals, then you're in the right place. We created this movie just for you. Sit back, relax, grab a pen and paper. Let's ditch the old way, the outdated way, learn our way to grow faster and easier and get you the freedom that you deserve.
Hip Creative has helped us generate 945 new patient leads and almost $4 million in revenue in the pipeline.
It is remarkable to see the results, and my numbers keep growing month over month over month over month.
You know, I partnered with Hip because I was at a place in my evolution of the practice where I was essentially stuck. I had been going for about 15 years on my own, doing our own local marketing, and I needed a push. I needed a boost, and Hip has been a great partner for that.
It just really feels good to have somebody that knows the business of orthodontics, knows what it takes to do the very best.
The reason I joined Hip was that Hip is an all-in-one solution. In my area, I feel like I'm dominating digitally once I acquired Hip as my partner.
They've got metrics. This is where you were, this is where you are, this is what we've done for you. Numbers don't lie. Here's where your staff didn't call these people back, and this is the revenue you potentially lost because this didn't happen.
This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and joining us is Luke and Justin. We've got two special guests here. They're the co-founders of Hip Creative. What does Hip Creative do?
Hi, I'm Luke Infinger, CEO at Hip. If you don't know what Hip is, we're a growth partner for orthodontists. So in terms of pain, orthodontists are coming out of residency somewhere between $600,000 to $800,000 in debt. That can be very painful, especially when you start to get introduced to the real world, start to have a family, start to employ people. You see taxes, payroll, but even from financial pain, obviously there's other pains. A lot of people we talk to are near burnout, and you probably hear physician burnout a lot. It's become a huge source for depression, suicide.
The education model is broken. It's a broken system right now. You know, they do a great job teaching you how to be a doctor, but you know, they really do. However, the game has changed. The insurance game has changed. The government's changing the rules. And so I think to be successful as a physician in today's world, you can't just be a doctor. You know, there's an element that's missing. And so that element is life skills. I mean, suicide rates, there's 400 plus suicides a year in physicians. I mean, that's over one a day. So there's the burnout, that whole autonomy of taking care of patients and having to go through all these hoops. There's no skill set for physicians, you know, in medical school that's going to adapt them to this crisis that's facing you. You know, a balanced life is what's missing. I just see so many divorce rates through the roof, and there's just so many, you know, just stories that are just so heartbreaking. And, you know, we can change that, you know, and who's going to change it? It starts with you. They don't have the skill set. So that's kind of where I've kind of evolved into. Also, what we see is you're probably not spending the time, the quality time that your family needs or that you want to be spending with your family. And so we've literally seen practice owners who partner with us. Again, it doesn't just help with the financial pain that you're going through. It will also help you work those 3 days or 4 days a week, bring in other associates, and really freedom. You know, not only with finances, but also with your time. And those are the two biggest things that we experience the most, is that, you know, people are really struggling with that. The average orthodontic practice is about a $1.2 million practice. And in today's world, that's not a lot of money, right? So if you're close to $1 million in debt out of residency,
it's probably going to be pretty difficult, and the chips are stacking up fast. We've seen practice owners 20 years in who were once at $3 million in production, now just shy of even $1 million. It's going in completely the wrong direction. Everyone wants a get-rich-quick type of strategy, and we see the audience that we serve will just jump from thing to thing to thing, whether it be a product or a service, in hopes that it'll just fix everything. Well, that doesn't happen. We know that doesn't happen, and great business people know that it's work, right? You kind of have to fire on all cylinders. We're a partner, so we don't want to just be the marketing guys. We really get to know on an intimate business level the orthodontist that we work with. You know, we want to align our marketing with the operations, and you can't really do that unless you really want to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty.
We renovated my whole website. Everything became fresh and new logo, new everything. The dominance in my area just became very, very prevalent to me, or relevant, either one, because I was using another firm that was telling me how great they were doing for me, but in comparison to HIP, they were doing nothing for me.
An important part of what we do is, like, we do provide tools, we provide training, we provide the actual leads that can be turned into patients. But a lot of offices we work with, they don't have like an actual operation. Like, there's no systems, there's no processes, or it's all relying on one person.
In terms of marketing in our framework, we really noticed this about 1.5 years ago. And the issue with just giving a great marketing framework, which we did, but with a lot of practices, it would come down to the conversation of, well, what are you doing for me, and how is it really working? Because marketing can be this ambiguous thing. And it was, well, are you growing? Well, yeah, I'm growing. And we could go through all these vanity metrics like click-through rate, bounce rate. None of those things really mattered. At the end of the day, what did I spend? What did you do? And how did those new patients move through the new patient journey in my practice? So about 1.5 years ago, we said, okay, we want to be the best. Let's deliver and create a software. So we created Practice Beacon. So everything we do comes into one place, one portal, and then we created training. And so the teams of the partners that we work with are trained on how to use this software. It's very easy. And that way, everything that we're doing is being tracked, and we can say, okay, we spent X on Google ads, this happened, on Facebook ads, this happened, on your website, this happened, and here's what it comes down to in terms of dollars.
We have meetings every single month. They ask me what my goals are for the whole year, and then we work backwards from there. Instead of just hoping for the best, there's less hope and more predictability.
So then we can predictively say, okay, here's the areas that are doing the best and where you're getting all your new patients, and here's where we really need to niche down and just focus in terms of the strategy. Also, with that software, we secret shop the practice. So we'll actually deliver a secret shop report card once a month, and can say, not only with the secret shop report card, but also issues inside of the software. Let's just say everyone's getting stuck in appointment scheduled, a column. Well, if there's 500 people in that column over the past 4 or 5 months, we know that's an issue. And then we'll dig in and see, align that with the secret shop report card results as well, and say, okay, Sally needs to be retrained on these things, and here's why. And so not only are we able to track the entire patient journey to know what the marketing dollars are doing and where to scale, we can also pinpoint how to train teams better to more effectively grow. You know, there's a lot of other competitors out there. For instance, let's just say a very popular thing right now is pay per show that we see with marketing companies. And that's great, but here's the issue. And here's how they sell it and how it's sexy is your team doesn't have to do anything. We get leads on Facebook and it turns into appointments. That's great for Facebook. What happens when someone calls? What happens when a form submission comes in on a website? And so instead of just giving someone a fish and letting them eat for a day, we want to teach them how to fish so they can eat for their entire career in your practice, they can do well, and you can be doing extremely well also. And so we really train people how to fish, right? It's done with you. We want to constantly train and improve what's happening inside the offices of our partners to make them even better. You're not a startup, you're not coming out of residency, you were literally on the way up, and then it's just crashing and burning kind of before your eyes. We've been able to partner with those practice owners as well and turn things around and bring new life to the business, to the team, and help move things in the positive direction again.
Since we've been with them, we've noticed that our new patient exams have gone up quite a bit. We have a pretty large practice with 9 locations, and we're kind of hoping for maybe a 5 to 10% growth in new patients. But I looked last week and they were all the way up to 61%, which I've never had before.
So let me tell you what success looks like. Let me paint the picture. When you're able to bring in predictively new patients, obviously you're going to be able to scale and grow and spend time on the things that really matter most to you. And what we find is a lot of our partners want to spend more time with their families, right? They want to go on vacation more. They want to work less days annually. If you want to do that, you can work 3 or 4 days a week. You can spend more time with your family. You can cut and trim days and actually be more efficient. So we're able to help with that as well and really allow our partners to be able to have some of the financial freedom that they need as a high earner and spend more time with their families.
Working with Hip Creative as a partner in the marketing has been such, it's taken away some of the stresses, I guess, of marketing. And it's created a lifestyle that's a little bit easier to come into the office and recognize I'm going to have new patients on my schedule.
There's a lot of great marketers out there. While we're good at marketing, the truth is marketing is really not that hard, right? Especially for us, it's kind of what we eat for breakfast. Like, we have a pretty dialed in framework. What's more important to us is effective communication and great service. From early on, we wanted to really partner with practices to align their operations with our marketing. We don't want to be just the marketing guys out in left field pressing marketing buttons. We actually want to deliver a real partnership and understand the business inside and out. And so I think that's what makes us a little bit different from some of the other people out there that are just really true marketers. They may have a great framework and may be able to deliver great marketing results, but as we know, a lot of that ends once the prospect meets your digital front desk, right? What happens when the lead is generated?
Yeah, I think managing growth is a trick. It's a skill, actually. It's a leadership skill primarily. Of all the practices in the country that are solo owned, which is about 5,700, that solo practitioner in the center of the road is doing 1.25 million with 6 people. And so this is 210,000 of revenue per FTE, and it doesn't really have an org chart. But when you get to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, which is where people are going to go in the digital world, you're going to have one employee every $300,000 in revenue at the most efficient levels, and you're going to have more employees, 10, 12, 14, 20 employees, and you're going to have levels of management and allow people to be empowered to make decisions and let them fail. Help them get back on their feet. If they can't, you get rid of them. Small business people are terrible about holding on to people too long. And to your point of, letting the superstar do everything, you see it in churches, you see it in business, you see it in volunteer organizations. When you get a superstar, they just get fried because they're asked to do everything because they're so good. You can't do that in business. And so you've got to bring a team along, and we don't naturally have that skill set as orthodontists.
That's where we really wanted to hone in and focus. How can we make that the best? Because that's the gap, right? That's the missing link. And so that's what we've done with our framework. It's the marketing, it's training, and it's the software, Practice Beacon. And with those 3 things combined, you can't really fail if you actually do the work. orthodontists are pretty disconnected with the actual business and how it's ran. And the reason why is they're a technician. When they're making money, they're seeing patients. And when they're seeing patients, they can't run the business. And so typically when we look at the org chart, the person running the practice really isn't qualified. In a lot of practices, it's a office manager who's also the TC, who's also the front desk, financial coordinator, and it's like, okay, if we removed Sally from your practice, it all would fall to pieces. And so things are working okay, but how can we make it great? A bit of coaching on, okay, here's who's gonna do what. Sometimes we'll pump the brakes and say, hey, you need to hire this 1 or 2 roles in your practice before we even work with you. And we're very open and honest about that, because the last thing we want is for marketing dollars and leads and patients, for that to be a bad experience, not only for our partners, but for the patients requesting consultations, exams, and services from our partners. If there's no one there to really be trained and own that role, then it's not going to be successful. And a lot of times with any business, you'll see people jump from marketer to marketer to marketer, and oh, it didn't really work. And while that may be true in some cases, most of the time why it didn't work is expectations weren't set, right? So it's like, oh yeah, we'll just turn on the faucet, everything will be great. And there was no training provided and clear transparency over the whole process.
Our most successful practices, they typically have someone over operations that's looking at how everything operates and consistently iterating to improve those systems. And so part of the training piece of what we do is we do help identify those things early on. I think it's the number one thing from success to failure is if there's someone inside the practice that actually wants to adopt new things and new processes and not just resist.
Leadership is a learned skill and the most important skill for growth if you want growth. If you don't care about growth, you don't have to be a great leader. But if you want to grow in an environment that today is very difficult to grow in, you have to invest in yourself on the leadership side. That means you have to have a vision for what your practice looks like. That's a lot of thought. You need to be able to see it, and then you have to be able to learn to transfer what's in your head to your people, empower them to present that vision in every encounter they have in your business, and then give them feedback and they give you feedback. That's the skill set that we lack the most, in my opinion, in order to grow. If you don't want to grow, you can have 1.2 million practice anywhere, I think. But if you want to grow bigger than that, it takes real leadership.
The practice before is what I think in the industry they call it like a boutique practice. We had one location that was open. I think we were open 3 days a week then, and we had the Navarre location, very small. We were open once a week. We saw about 30 patients a day, 4 new patients a day. 2-hour consults, 1 patient, 2 hours. It's a totally different process. So I was a TC at that point. Dr. Ben came in, bought the practice. We kept everything the same for about a year. Shortly after he bought the practice, I started managing it, and he had a goal, something he wanted to do within 5 years, but he had to see patients. He doesn't have time to put all the things in place that need to happen for that kind of growth. So we really just set out a business plan and just kind of did it step by step. We reached our 5-year goal in about 1.5 years.
Wow.
We're on track this year to quadruple. So
wow, that's
it's pretty
awesome.
Exciting. Yeah.
So how did you guys figure that out and change that and kind of streamline like a minute for the doctor versus an hour?
In increments, honestly, Luke, we did we had 2 hours, and then we shortened it to 1.5 hours. Then we shortened it to an hour. We shortened it to 40 minutes. We shortened it to 30 minutes. So it's just, little by little. It's also putting the right people in place that are willing to accept things are going to change. These are these are the things that we need to do to get to the next level, that are willing to go in the direction that we find. One of the things that's a little different for us, our doctors are not directly involved in management. So our doctors are strictly in patient care.
And why is that? Is that so they can really own their doctor? So owning that treatment.
It's another one of those things, like, as I said, like a treatment coordinator, it's not their strong suit. Managing a practice, it's not what they're skilled at. It's also not the best use of their time.
Right.
The most productive use of a doctor's time is to be seeing patients.
My name's Ernie McDowell, and I have All Smiles orthodontics. Right now I have 5 locations, and I've been working with HIP for a little over a year. And I can tell you the one thing I like about HIP that's different than what I've experienced before. You can learn and read about things that you need to do, but the things that they don't teach you is the follow through and the ability to have metrics set up, have checks and balances, and actually be able to track and monitor. And they actually set that up for you, and they help you do it so you can really see that your investment's paying off. And what it makes you want to do is not only see that it's working, but it makes you want to invest more because you see the value and the benefit. I mean, marketing is an investment, and if you're doing it right, the more you market, the busier you should get. And eventually your only rate limiting factor should be the facilities and how hard you want to work.
We're halfway through, and at this point, you've seen the stories, you've seen evidence, and know that the HIP way can help your business. Orthodontists who've watched this far are either frustrated with their current revenue or struggling to put the pieces together to actually run their organization, or maybe even both. So if that's you, go ahead and click below and book a call now. Obviously, we're working with some of the best practices in the space, and I truly believe that we're a leader within orthodontics, but it wasn't always this way. So for me, when my wife and I got married, I realized not only did I have my student loan debt, I also took on her student loan debt, which was about $150,000 worth of debt. And at the same time, we were becoming entrepreneurs, trying to start a business and run a business, and there was no money. We were literally living in an apartment owned by her dad, paid for by her dad, just so we could make ends meet. And I was working literally around the clock. I think our agency was making like $5,000 or $7,000 in the beginning for several months. And so I know what it's like to truly have your back up against a wall and feel like you're stuck. My marriage was suffering, even though we were just newlyweds. I wasn't spending a lot of time with my wife. I was having to work all the time. I felt like financially we would never make any money, and that's pretty stressful. The number one cause of stress and depression is due to finances. It's also the number one cause of divorce. And so from there, we began to put the right systems and frameworks inside of our own business. Number one, we realized that we couldn't serve everybody. We couldn't serve manufacturers or jewelers or general surgeons or plastic surgeons and orthodontists and do it all well. We had to really niche down to become experts. As we started to do that, we started to just slowly see more success and more success every single day. You know, fast forward today, the student loan debt is paid off. We're making plenty of money. My wife, we actually had our daughter 3 years ago, Aislinn, and so my wife was able to stop working in the agency altogether and be a full-time mom. Just last week, I took the whole week off and we did a staycation out on the beach, and I was able to actually spend time with my daughter and my wife and just hang out with them and have fun. As we started to grow and see success, you know, not only in our business, we saw this in other businesses, you could build it up and burn it down. COVID for us was truly a blessing for our business. So when COVID hit, we had probably been through 3 or 4 teams. You know, me and Justin, we thought, well, we can just spend all of our time and all of our focus and all of our dedication on our partners, on you, the orthodontist, and our team can either get on board or get out. Well, it doesn't really work that way. And we could even start to identify this with even the top practices that we served. And if you look at Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, the number one thing they focus on is their team and culture. And so we know that if we don't focus on our team and put our team before you, our team's not going to be able to serve you at the highest level. And so really the big shift for us was during that time with COVID, really being able to focus on our team and build our team, provide training, resources, provide culture, a great place and a fun place to work. And now we're seeing our team really become specialized, really become a tight-knit family, really become experts within orthodontics. And we were able to go from, good to really great. And it's the same thing in your own business, in your practice. You can put in the right technology, you can, focus on Invisalign, you can focus on efficiencies, and you can certainly grow. Let's just say a treatment coordinator. If you lose your best treatment coordinator, conversion rates and sales and revenue can plummet. And so you've got to be focusing on your team and providing your team with the right training, the right support in order to go from good to truly good.
The biggest false belief most practices have when they start working with us is that all they need is lead generation. They don't just need lead generation. They need a team that can use the tools and the processes we provide to deliver an excellent patient experience.
We cannot thank Hip Creative enough for all they've done to partner with us and help us see more new patients and starts than ever before.
We have been absolutely thrilled with the results so far. So as a startup, the hardest thing for me is just getting people in the door. And this program has really helped to generate a lot of leads. They also give you, the framework and all of the tools to then communicate with those leads through Practice Beacon. So it's made it really easy for my staff, and we've seen a very noticeable increase in consults and phone calls coming in, and we're beyond thrilled so far, and I can't wait to see the long-term results.
Working with HIP, we really started to see the results almost instantly. Other companies that we worked with were steps, little steps here and there where we saw some improvement. HIP, I liken to being a rocket ship, just went push. It was amazing.
In order to use those tools, your team has to be trained and bought into the process. It can't just be that a single person in the office is bought into the process. Everyone has to be bought into the process and adopt the methodology and the frameworks we provide and the tools we provide. That's the only way to deliver an excellent patient experience. The data shows that most offices don't follow up with the leads that they get organically or through a paid source. So we secret shop all of our practices and prospects, and 99% of them follow up once and that's it, or 0 times. I would say 80% of people that we run a secret shop on, they don't even reply to us as a fake patient looking to come into their office to seek treatment. The data shows that our most successful practices are following up 14 times over 7 to 10 days with a consistent follow-up process through email, SMS, and phone calls. Look, it's not your fault that it takes on average 7 touch points before someone recognizes or will actually commit to a yes to come into your office. That's why we've developed the tools and processes to help you along the way so that you can actually train your team and implement these processes into your office so that it is manageable.
We've essentially developed our framework, not only just marketing, but realize there's a lot of leaks that can happen with marketing. So we have training that goes all the way from the front desk to the COO. And then we also have our software Practice Beacon. So all the leads come in, we can see how they move through the new patient process and turn into patients.
We've been able to grow tremendously. We've added 4 new team members. We're opening a second office location. It's been really, really good for us.
So the simple truth is that there is a solution. There is a way for your staff to be trained and to be given the tools where they can follow up consistently no matter where the patient came from, whether it's a referral, an online lead, someone that opted into your website, the front desk, they call into the front desk or they walk in the front door. There is a manageable way to treat every patient the same way.
We started in January 2021, it is now March, and I can tell you our new patient exam column looks quite a bit different than it did even a few months ago. We used to have openings here and there, but now we are booked, to be honest, a little bit further than I would like to be. So I look forward to continuing to work with them to accommodate this growth, to come up with strategies to accommodate growth. I also really enjoy Practice Beacon, which is the software that they use to track all the leads that they've generated. So loving that transparency and also loving the software for tracking patients through the process internally It really helps us nurture the leads so that they can become part of our family. So looking forward to seeing where they can take the practice.
We've studied over 1,000 practices. We work with over 80 practices currently, and this isn't for everyone. We don't work with everyone doesn't work with us. We're very selective in who we work with. We want to make sure whoever does decide to work with us wants to adopt our framework that's been proven. The data shows without a doubt that if you follow our process, you will get success.
2019, we had a great year. 2020, in 9.5 months, we beat 2019. In 2021, we're probably gonna, in 9 months, we're gonna beat 2020. Our goals for 2021, we're gonna exceed those. I don't think we set our goals high enough. Now I'm having trouble. Where do I find more days to put all these new patients? And how do I find the time? Because I want to have personal time as well. So they're challenging me to reinvent my systems again over and over. So it's a fun ride.
Let us help you solve one of your biggest problems right now. Whether we work together or not, one thing we can do today is secret shop your practice. If you would like to take us up on that, all you have to do is reach out to us. We'll secret shop your practice. We'll give you a report card with all the data points so that you can kind of see where you're at today. And we'll also give you some pointers on how you can immediately improve that today. What makes the patient acquisition and retention framework is 3 components. The first is the marketing piece, which is where we're generating leads online for your practice. The second is the training component. We have a course with over 66 modules. We're adding to it all the time. It has different sections for your front desk staff, for the doctor, for internal marketing team, pretty much every role inside your practice. The third component is the software. We have a proprietary tool called Practice Beacon that'll help your team turn leads into patients.
So you're probably wondering, how long is this going to take? Well, typically onboarding takes about 21 days. And after that, we're off to the races, meaning ads go live on that 21st day if onboarding goes according to plan and your team actually follows the steps, shows up to the training, and in almost all cases, that does happen. We recently had a partner, this was literally 2 weeks ago, first lead came in, they booked them right away. And so obviously that's going to happen more or less every single day. Leads are going to be coming in for your team to work. And so if the process is followed, then you're gaining new patients, new consultations almost every single day, if not every single day. And so really the only time is that 21 days of onboarding. One of the biggest objections we get is, wow, this is a lot of money. And it can be a lot of money, but I always like to spin that question and say, well, what's the cost if you don't do this? What's the missed opportunity? And the opportunity cost is huge. It's in the millions, without a doubt.
There's this notion that I can do it better myself. We're small businesses, so we don't have time to do a whole lot of training and have systems in place and so forth. But the very best practices, my entire career, that were the top elite 5% practices, all employed consultants.
Over the course of a year, statistics show that if you miss one phone call a day, you missed $1 million in production.
It just blows my mind that when you ask an orthodontist why they don't use consultants, they don't trust them, they're too expensive, they don't have time, they don't know who to pick, failure to launch syndrome, what if I pick the wrong one and spend all this money? You see in your business, the people that hire you do better.
It was the best decision I personally have ever made. And I think anyone that they currently have as clients too would tell you the same thing.
So how much is this costing you by not moving forward, by being safe and just going with whatever marketing company, or in some cases we see orthodontists try and run their own ads? And you're probably wondering, okay, well, what's the guarantee? How can I be certain that this is going to work? And if you go through our onboarding, our training, and it is done to the T, it's going to work. In every case, we've seen it work.
3 years ago, before we started with HIP, we had 3 locations and about 25 team members. This year we'll have 8 locations and 75 team members.
What was exciting about working with HIP on a long-term basis is that they continued to grow with me, and they got better at what they were doing as well. And so we grew together. I've always said that SEO companies have a shelf life, and they can help you so far, so much, and then it gets stale. And with HIP, I've been working with them for years and years. It's not stale.
It's all the things that I would think every orthodontist needs. Acquisition of new patients, the new way is digitally in today's world. Again, you must have the digital presence. You must have high SEO. You must have the marketing that goes along with that. If you don't have the right digital presence, you're not going to win in today's world.
At the end of the day, if you're still unhappy and you don't have a return on investment, we'll give you your money back.
But the reality of that happening is basically zero.
I really feel that we've got a true partner, somebody that we can work with, somebody that we can call, somebody that they care as much about our practice and what's happening in our practice in the area that they're responsible for just as much as we do. And I'm very thankful to be able to work with them.
They have been just nothing more than extraordinary these last 3 months for us. They have started our COVID campaign back in April, started 22 new patients without even being in the office. Then this led to a reactivation campaign. Last month, 50 new starts. And now we're partnering with them for the next year. And they have great online and offline marketing that we are looking forward to having part of our orthodontic practice. Strongly recommend them if you're a startup or a mature practice like we are. Just give Luke, Harrison, Alan a call. They're all great. They're a small agency, very responsive and very creative. Highly recommend them.
I look back and I think I am so glad I made the switch to them.
Wow, you've watched the whole movie at this point. You've seen the stories, you've heard about the process, you've seen the HIP framework, and heard from the top orthodontist in the world. And here's the reality. You can't unsee, unwatch, or unlearn what you just saw. So when you finish watching this, you'll have one of two choices. You can either move forward into the HIP way and grow faster and easier, or you can stay stuck in the old way. To be honest, that's not what I want for you. That's not what HIP wants for you. So go ahead and take the next step. You've got nothing to risk, nothing to lose. We want you to win. We want you to have that freedom that you're desiring. It's the reason why you became an orthodontist. So click below, book your call, and learn how the HIP way can help you grow and scale like never before.